I'm disappointed. There's a lot of coffee in here. You're a unicorn. I stayed my voice. You can see that. It's a little. No. I have a sister. Your hair. Yes. Are you gonna have anything else to do? I went like this. You can be like this. I went like this. No. Why not you say that? I didn't even do that. We're gonna say right now.
That's what just sparked myself.
Okay.
Camera.
Why are you pointing at us? Why are you pointing at us? I already did. And I'll put your hair. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you
We see that.
We're singing.
No, okay. If you want to do alone, speak behind us. No, don't be afraid. Remember the words to that one song? It's the one day, whispers of hope on my eyes, inside my heart. One day, when.
What we're here for.
whispers of-
Can we get this closer to them or?
Sure, you can do that, but I'm gonna.
Okay, you can talk and then. Really wanna get the voice. What I mentioned.
When?
You can make sure we wanna get it
Yeah.
seen.
I'm not here.
Everybody does.
So, what it says, we can all spread light, that's what we said.
Let's shine, we can all spread light. We can all spread light.
That's what we did. Come on, do that. Oh, babies are big. Oh, take that. This is not a secret. I'm gonna take the shit. We could all spread light. We could all spread light. I could all spread light. No, that's extra. I can whistle.
No. Here.
Can't whistle. This is supposed to be. We just push it. Yeah, we look at this. You just push these two really hard together. Ah, yeah. Then you just yeah. Turn around. Oh, turn around. Keep my friend again. You're gonna touch my face.
Oh, that shot was caught on film too. You can't miss that. It was caught on film. It was right there too. It's right there, right behind us.
It's so. Turn around.
So it was a free broadcast.
All the way. Oh yeah. That's why. That's why. It's starting through. I mean, it's
Be the bigger man.
Where's the beat? What about the speech? Yeah. That's the speech. Speech. Yeah, don't want to no emphasis. You'll be right. For your hair wash. She's cleaning her hair.
One, not in the pockets.
I'm scared of it. Can I play right here? Can I do this? Play him. Like hope. My leg hurt. I'm gonna have a big bruise there. Good. I already have a bruise right here. Stop rubbing it. Yeah, stop rubbing it. It's how it's okay. I just
You are not gonna kiss.
Miss, she pulled my hair. I
Don't,
didn't even touch his hair. I pulled my hair.
don't
She
touch
pulled my
him.
hair.
Don't touch him.
Stop pulling me.
Don't. Victor, I'm serious, I'm looking at you. There,
Yeah, embarrassing. Looking at you, you're embarrassing. Yeah, the people. The girl right there in the red, she's the second. The girl in the red was talking about. I went up. She's like, she's looking at her phone. You're hot now. She's looking at
How do you walk that far? You take 3 hours just to walk.
yeah.
I will take it. for now. Yeah, not be taking items in here.
It's not my problem. I'm getting texts.
Well, you know what? No, I get texts all day long. I ignore it.
No, I'm just trying to see what it is.
No, so let me turn on to me.
Whether it's my op.
Bro.
What am I doing? What is my op?
Just ignore it.
Yeah, sit down. Please,
How much time do you have?
Can we do a test real quick? Ms. Bueno, can you hear us?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Want to call our board meeting to order at 5:26 PM for February 6th, 2024. Welcome. We're welcoming you tonight with our wonderful Garfield students here. Thank you, Ms. Clark, for being here and bringing your team with you. We're excited to have you guys perform tonight. I'll give the floor over to you, Ms. Clark. Thank you.
Vice President Trujillo, point of clarification, can we go through the item 2 and roll call
Okay, all the way to adopting or just calling to order?
all the way till number 6? Mhm.
All righty. Sorry, guys. Give us just a few minutes. All right, we call to order at 5:26 PM. We're going to do our tribal land acknowledgement, which is what we begin our meetings with. So in partnership with tribes who call Phoenix their home first, we acknowledge and respect the land our schools are built on. We commit to being a strong partner with any and all tribal nations who entrust their children to our schools. We are grateful and honored to be partners. Okay, thank you. With that, Mrs. Valencia, may we please have a roll call for attendance?
Yes, good evening. Roll call for Ms. Jessica Bueno,
Here.
Mr. Regional Carrillo, Ms. Erica de la Rosa,
Here.
Dr. Alicia Vink, and Ms. Carmen Trujillo.
Present.
Thank you.
With that, we do have a quorum with 3 of us here, so we'll go ahead and proceed. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please remain standing. So we're going to start by singing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see? What's just as I saw.
You may have a seat. Our first song we're going to sing is called I Asked for One Day, followed by This Little Light of Mine. These are the 2 songs that they sang at the festival last October with the Greater Phoenix Festival. So I hope you enjoy them.
I asked for one day. I don't have to hear about it. Oh, Lord, that's all. I asked for one day. When was just a whole fire inside my heart. And there's freedom. I asked for one day. I don't have to hear about it. I asked for one day in my life where the sunshine doesn't shine. One day in my life where the world is at peace as I sing. Just one day, I ask for one day, but on my eyes and I see the hope in me. I ask for one day, but more is a dream of the past. It was long ago, but then we see just days and just days. I ask for one day, but don't have to think about it. I ask for one day, my love, when the sun shines through the shadows. One day, my love, for the world that we as I see. Open our arms. In my life, where there is sunshine through in my life, where the world is empty, as I see. As one day, just one day. It's the light of my, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of my, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of my, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. It's the light of my, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of my, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of my, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We can all spread light, so I'm gonna let it shine. We can all spread light, so I'm gonna let it shine. We can all spread light, so I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I will stop my feet and I will clap my hands and shout. Shout. I will run around and I will shout. Shout. I will stop my feet and I will clap my hands and shout. Shout. I will run around and I will run to the ground and shout. Shout. To the light of my, I'm gonna shout. It's to the light of my, I'm gonna shine. It's to the light of my, It's the light one. I'm gonna show. It's the light one. I'm gonna show. It's the light one. I'm gonna show. It's the light one. It's the light one. I'm gonna show. It's the light one. I'm gonna show. It's the
All right, that was wonderful. Thank you, guys. Definitely grab some more cookies, ask for some water if you need some. Thank you so very much for being here. You guys did a fabulous job. With that, everyone, we're going to move on to the adoption of our agenda. Dr. Gonzalez, do you have any recommendations for our agenda this evening?
I recommend we accept the agenda as it is presented.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt our agenda as presented?
I set the motion.
Thank you. And I'll second the motion. Mrs. Valencia, may we please have a roll call vote to adopt our agenda as presented?
Yes, roll call for Ms. Jessica Bueno,
Aye.
Ms. Erica de la Rosa. Aye. And Ms. Carmen Trujillo.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, our motion passes and our agenda will move forward as it is. With that, we'll move on to item A6 for our awards, recognitions, and announcements. So again, thank you, Garfield students and Ms. Clark, for being here and coming to perform, representing the district. Yay, Garfield, go Grizzlies. Woo! With that, our next one, we had our 100th day of school. On January 25th, we celebrated the 100th day of school. And to commemorate that day, our schools hosted events on campus to celebrate with our communities. We are so proud of the accomplishments of our students and staff so far this school year. We look forward to continuing progress. We also had our district spelling bee. Our second annual district spelling bee was a huge success. Spellers competed in and won their school spelling bees before taking part in the district event on January the 26th. Coming in first was Jackson May from Shaw Montessori. Our first runner-up was Georgette Johanni from Shaw Montessori, and our second runner-up was Daisiana Juan from Capital. We congratulate all 26 of our spellers and wish Jackson, Georgette, and Daisiana the best of luck as they represent Phoenix #1 at the Regional Spelling Bee on February 7th.
Enrollment open house begins. Our schools have begun hosting open houses to welcome prospective families to our district. During these events, principals are telling the community about their campuses, explaining the enrollment process, and answering any questions families may have. Some families choose to enroll their students on the spot following the presentations. We definitely look forward to remaining open houses over the next couple of weeks. In regards to Reimaging Phoenix #1, on January 18th, we hosted our first Reimage Phoenix #1 meeting with governing board members, district leaders, staff, community members, and stakeholders. Together, we're striving to create new learning opportunities, educate the next workforce, and provide the best places to work and live. Our next Reimaging Phoenix #1 meeting will be held February 21st.
Thank you. Let's see. With that, we'll move on to item B1, our superintendent's report. The floor is yours, Dr. G.
Thank you, Vice President Trujillo. This month is February, and we are celebrating Black History Month. Phoenix #1 has a dynamic 152-year history shaped by the contributions of diverse communities, including our Black community. At a time when segregation limited educational opportunities for Black students, Paul Laurence Dunbar became the neighborhood school to ensure Black families had a school for their children 99 years ago. These children became leaders in our schools and in our community. Celebrating Black history is an integral part of our ethos as a district. The celebration of Black history ensures the contributions of the Black community are acknowledged, honored, and woven into the fabric of the educational experience for all of our students. Through this ongoing commitment, Phoenix #1 remains committed to supporting equity, promoting unity among our students, staff, and community. At our meeting in December, we celebrated the work of our Payroll and Human Resources Department, who were working to provide the equity adjustments for all of our staff. At this point in time, we are able to provide 48% of our staff with a new equity adjustment. And this weekend, many of our members of our payroll team came in to make sure that those adjustments were ready to be provided for our staff. So thank you to our payroll staff for that extra effort to make sure that we are compensating more of our employees equitably. I also want to thank the members who represent our Phoenix Elementary Classroom Teachers Association and our Educational Support Personnel Association for their leadership in showing and helping us ensure that our systems are supportive across the district for all of our employees. Dr. Bowman and I have met with these groups and look forward to sharing the agreed upon items that were discussed in the meet and confer process with you later on this evening. We know that strong associations help ensure that we have the highest caliber of employees who are working to provide the very best for our students. We are proud to have your leadership in Phoenix #1. And in our work to continue to serve our community better, we're starting our customer survey process. This is going to be working with our family and community engagement teams, our front offices, and the work of our communications, marketing, and community relations department. This ties directly to the interim superintendent guardrails to provide effective reciprocal communication and have an organizational customer service plan. So your input is very important to us, and we look forward to hearing from you. And finally, in our final celebration, our enrollment efforts. You heard about our open houses, and last month you saw the presentation on our enrollment work. I've been fortunate to see 2 of our billboards around town already featuring our amazing students. And yesterday, in talking with principals, I learned that we had 8 new enrollments at Faith North Preschool. So congratulations to our community relations, marketing, and communications team and all of our principals. Thank you to your front offices, to Ms. Baker for your leadership in helping to welcome new families to our campuses. And Madam President, that concludes my superintendent comments.
Awesome. So eloquent you are. Thank you. Thank you. With that, because you're going to hear my board reports. With that, we'll move on to item B2, our board member reports. Board Member De La Rosa, do you have any board member reports?
I do not.
Oh, Friday. I've got a few, just to echo Dr. Gonzalez's wonderful superintendent's report. February does bring us Black History Month and National Heart Month. I encourage staff and students to find ways to celebrate Black history on our campuses. A few ideas to please consider would be taking our work lunches purchases to our local Black-owned restaurants, make it a point to volunteer at Black-led nonprofits, and definitely amplify Black voices in our literature, our books, our online resources, and social media. I look forward to seeing what we come up with. With regard to National Heart Month, I want to thank our staff for sending out the wellness newsletter for February. It was an interesting read, definitely close to my heart. The data provided on there from the United Healthcare information shows that Arizona's rate for cardiovascular disease is higher than the national average. We rank 32nd out of the 50 states, so please let this serve as a caring prompt to please put an eye or keep an eye on where you are in your cardiovascular health. I did have a family member who went in for a Medicare required exam because he qualified for Medicare and thought everything would be fine, ended up needing a double bypass, and he didn't realize how terrible he felt because after the surgery, he felt amazing and didn't realize that that's what it was that was weighing him down, was his arteries. So I care about you all, so please make sure to keep that top of mind if it's something you don't know about. I did attend a few of our open houses, and I also wanted to thank our staff who worked those days so we could be accessible to our community and bring in new students. I got to talk to Principal Fuentes about, just stuff going on in our community when I went to his open house. So I really enjoyed seeing some families walking over from the apartment complex across the way and just seeing, they're walking in with their birth certificates and things like that. And it just reminded me as a young parent. So it was nice to see, and I wanted to thank staff for that. But that's all I have. President Bueno, do you have any board reports this evening? All right, maybe she stepped away to the restroom or something. Let me go ahead and move on to item C1, our student outcomes focused governance update. We did have our governance coaching meeting on January the 25th, and we're moving along in our process. We have a retreat coming up, a board retreat coming up, and then also a student outcomes focused governance refresher session planned for staff to kind of understand more what the board has going on regarding our governance model. I lost my train of thought there. My apologies. I just wanted to clarify that we are at a point in the process where we're coming into some of the organizational benefits, I think, where this governance model really helps us identify what everybody's roles are. And I think we're about to talk about that with the few things that we have on our agenda this evening. So with that, we'll move on to item C2 to discuss our interim goals 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2. Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. So to look at our next interim goals, we have questions that were submitted by our governing board members. And this evening, we're pleased to have Dr. Lloyd, Dr. Galetti, and Principal Pietrangeli, who is going to talk about the responses to the questions that the governing board members had presented.
Good evening.
Oh, there we go.
So the first question that was asked, and we're happy to be here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to answer these questions. President Bueno, Vice President Trujillo, and Member De La Rosa. So the first question that was asked was, can you share more about how iReady consultants are supporting teachers? Is it with the technology, the instruction, the data? And the answer really is that they're supporting our teachers and our principals in a variety of ways. They're helping them to provide insights about how to implement the curriculum to really get the results that we're wanting to see. So this does include the technology and how to use that, but it also includes how to orient them to the dashboards, how students are progressing, how to group students. So looking at that data to help teachers understand how to group students, to really target those needs and conceptual understanding. Also includes coaching with teachers for learning acceleration strategies to help develop that conceptual understanding, abstract applications, helping to support small groups, and really providing some customized practice. So our consultants are working in a variety of ways with our schools. Really, their main role is to observe those lessons and provide some coaching feedback, really based on those observational data. So they are working with looking at the instruction. They're working with the school leadership team so that they can help to provide that support in between those consultant visits. It's really, they're working with groups of teachers focused on math instruction. And the consultants are also supporting our site leadership teams as well and conducting those walkthroughs, helping to identify and support the look-fors in that math instruction, looking at the data, both class and school-wide data, and really trying to help to identify some of those next steps so that they're able to focus on what those needs might be between those consultant visits. And really just generally how to really help to support those high yield instructional strategies that we know are going to really help to support our kids towards success. I'm going to turn it over to Principal.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. This timing was great. We had our consultant visit number 4 just yesterday, and the consistency of the same consultant visiting with the cohort of teachers has been wonderful. The relationships has been built off of trust, that this is not an evaluation visit, that the teachers have really accepted the consultant as being somebody that is support. Very similar to our learning acceleration specialists and our master teachers program. We work real close with our consultant to help that reach get to the cohorts of the classrooms for that tier 1 support. So having the consistency of the same consultant has been very valuable. That relationship, they're part of the culture already. We put a t-shirt on them and we're having a lot of fun with them. And the timing of it also came for this round. Next week, we have 3 days in a row, and we have all of our winter benchmark data that we've already tore apart and dug right into. And the focus of these trainings now, the morning sessions have been PDs for differentiation using now the iReady programs of the My Classroom and the My Pathway and the prerequisites. It's just a treasure, almost a gold mine of manipulatives and resources. And the consultant is helping us mine that, get in there and use it. And then in the afternoons, we visit the classrooms, again, in a support model to give feedback and just watch our teachers practice the math instruction. So again, the relationship is really built on trust right now. That's what we established. And the consistency allowed us to do that. So it's been very aligned and intentional, I'll even say, of how we're applying the consultants to support the differentiation in that tier 1. Okay. Thank you.
And we should note, these are questions submitted by Board Member Vink, Dr. Vink.
So the second question that was asked is, are 90-minute blocks of math instruction evidence-based, or is that a state requirement? And so 90-minute blocks of math instruction are not mandated by the state. However, they are grounded in best practice and research related to math learning and to student achievement. The key really being that balance of time with effective teaching strategies and really high engagement of our students. Really, with a 90-minute block of math instruction, we should be seeing math instruction in a variety of ways. There should be this timely, focused instruction that's providing that direct, explicit opportunity for students to learn the math, coupled with time for exploration, conceptual development, and practice that is quickly then reinforced by the students to really cement that new learning. There also should be those learning acceleration strategies incorporated within a 90-minute block to promote that conceptual development. That includes lots of things such as hands-on learning, real-world application of math so that they're doing some real-world problem-solving experiences, group work. That also includes talking about math. So within our iReady, there are structures that are built in, language structures that support all students, but are also particularly helpful for our students that might be multilingual, because it gives them that regular opportunity to interact and work with those math concepts that they're learning and show what they know. In a 90-minute block, we're also working toward that gradual release, which is really starting with that teacher modeling of the new learning. And then there's guided practice. So to help students become ready, moving then toward that independent practice. And of course, the differentiation throughout to meet the needs of the learners that are, that might have specific needs to build up to what the concept is, but also to support those students who are ready to extend their learning as well. We also are enhancing that learning during that 90 minutes through some integration of technology. So we have MyPath that really helps to provide that individualized instruction, and it meets students where they are at their level to really help support them in their learning of those mathematical concepts. So I'm going to turn it back over to give you a couple of real world examples.
All right, live from Kenilworth, you'll see that our next shirt is going to be I Heart the 90-minute math block. We found so much value in being able to give practice. We can't underestimate the value of time to practice the math. And without that 90-minute block, we didn't have enough time in the day to find that built-in practice. This has allowed us to really implement a form of a walk to math model as well. When we structured our support from our highly qualified instructional assistants, our math interventionists, along with master teachers and learning acceleration specialists to push into the classroom for that I don't want to call it additional time, but that built-in 90-minute block is structured to provide that practice time so we could give more small group activities. Again, I'll go back to how we started with our iReady consultant helping us with the differentiation model. That was something we highlighted in her visit yesterday to see, are we using this small group time the best way we can? Are we relying on the resources already provided by iReady to reach these lower levels, on levels, and above level students? And that 90-minute math block keeps a consistent master schedule. So when we have people ready to help, we can just plug them right into that practice time for math. There's just not enough time in the day to keep practicing math. So we appreciate the 90-minute math block.
And I would just add to that, within that 90-minute period with those iReady consultants, because they're working and as you mentioned, there's a consistency with regard to the consultant that they're working with. It does also provide that opportunity for differentiation within supporting at those schools. So if, like he mentioned, if small groups is a need of focus, then there might be some additional support for what that might look like or how that's implemented, or maybe some things that might help to support teachers at one site where maybe they're really strong at another site, and there might be something else, a particular strategy, for example. So it does allow that flexibility within each school site to really target the specific needs of what principals, what leaders, what teachers are finding and seeing to support that 90 minutes of instruction.
Thank you. And then our next question from Dr. Vink asked whether or not we saw a difference in scores when math is departmentalized, and at how many sites and for what grade levels is that happening? So we do not departmentalize in early grades, so we don't have data to provide for that question. However, since we do departmentalize in the upper grades, Dr. Lloyd is looking at that data to be able to provide input for our February 20th governing board meeting. Our next set of questions come from Vice President Trujillo, who asked, looking at this data, what specifically are the sufficiently aggressive strategies in place to help support our students toward Goal 2's vision? And so, Randy, this is slide number 1.
So the response to that, and I'll wait for the slide to come up. So the response to that is in looking at the data, the sufficiently aggressive strategies that are in place is providing that needed ongoing support, both with professional development, with planning, and the delivery of that effective math instruction. So that embedded professional learning through the consultants, and also additional professional learning that's occurring at school sites and through our district as well. This is that opportunity for that embedded professional learning is really why we are using those consultants, with such a thorough approach to monitoring that instruction and providing the time to apply the strategies that they're learning. So it's not just one time that they're getting this learning, and then without that support in between, there's really that opportunity. They're learning, and then it's followed up with that support in between as well. The 90-minute block of time is really then needed to be able to incorporate all of those essential elements of math instruction and practice. So that includes things such as warm-up activities to activate their knowledge, whole group lessons and small group as well, the exploration of those mathematical routines, the small group instruction, which I mentioned, independent and partner work, and also just closure and assessment practices as well as it relates to math instruction. So I'm going to turn it over to some examples from Kenilworth.
All right, so at Kenilworth, we're going to continue to ring the practice. And so that's one of the strategies we're not going to take our foot off the gas pedal on. As we get closer to the end of the school year and we start to hear things like it's crunch time for the state testing, we can't waste that time in the classroom going back and revisiting review sheets. We're going to stay true to the iReady program and the pathway and allow that 90-minute block to keep moving us forward, to expose the students to some deep learning in all areas, but at the same time provide them the My Pathway on the digital platform to teacher assigned lessons that may be review material instead of just burdening them with worksheet after worksheet. We're going to keep them engaged with our small group activities during that 90-minute block and just continue to rely on teacher quality and really empower them through our consultant time has been very meaningful. Our learning acceleration strategies of that small group and the data tracking and our master teacher support to our math as a coaches. We're going to continue that practice, but not bury them with worksheets of review. We're just going to keep moving forward with the program the way it's built and rely on the online strategies as practice at home as well.
So the second question that was posed was, what are other areas of focus that could be added to that first slide? So we've mentioned quite a few strategies already that we have employed and that could be added, helping students who are far below grade level to access grade level standards and develop those needed skills. So there's lots of things that we've discussed. Learning acceleration strategies being one of them, our use of the iReady consultants to support both our teachers and our leaders. We are master teachers and our learning acceleration specialists. And then of course, the different ways that we're presenting instruction. Also instructional effectiveness and maximizing the utility of our curricular resources so that our teachers really not only have the curricular resources available to them, but they also understand how to use those in the best way to support students with where they're at with their math instruction.
And an amazing math interventionist to be very dedicated to the program of iReady itself and the targeted groups to really provide a solid, really sacred math intervention time in the master schedule to be targeting the pull-out time, supporting the teachers with tier 1, but having our math interventionist be, again, teacher quality. She knows her content, she puts in the work, and she's working with the teachers as she's become a strong motivator for all the teachers to improve and just reach that commitment of teacher quality.
Excuse me, Randy, our next one is going to be on slide 3. And this is a question specifically for Dr. Lloyd from President Trujillo. And she is asking, excuse me, is it safe to rely on the last page and last line of yellow highlighted data for first and second grade Hispanic students and to use 11% as our current measure for the district? And so forgive me, it's not slide 3, it is actually slide 5.
Six,
sorry. With my glasses, I can't read the numbers.
the next one, actually. There,
There we go.
we made it. A2. So, correct me, Vice President Trujillo, if I'm not answering this accurately. What I understand is you're asking about whether or not we'll be able to hit our target for this year for first and second grade students with where we're currently at, since Hispanic students is our biggest group of students in terms of demographics. And based on past year's progress, we believe in first and second that a lot of those students are moving, and looking at our current projections that we have from iReady, we are going to be very close as long as we continue to grow at the typical or a higher rate to be able to meet those goals and the gains that we need to be able to be successful with third grade this year. I do know, looking at first grade, we set that target a little bit probably too high at the beginning of the year, but that's something that we can adjust as we continue to look at how we set our targets. This was our first year, so it's still a work in progress. But we do see some of the same type of progress that we made in past years. If you go back, Randy, one slide to the previous slide, you'll notice and see that that we're on a similar trajectory that we've been in past years in terms of where we're at in the winter and what we hope to do by spring. First grade, like I said, that target may have been a little high that we set at the beginning of the year, but we do believe that we will make up some of that ground with, again, we have to make the time for it and put into place the strategies and the things that have been discussed up to this point today.
So that does definitely help me kind of see where we're at and which cohorts of students that we're looking at. So I guess I just kind of was wondering where the district is like right now, but I guess that's not so relevant because we've got the interim goals set up. So that's where I should be focused at. That's what I took from that. And I'm appreciative of it because it is so big for me sometimes. So being able to hone it in, that's exactly what I needed. So thank you, Dr. Lloyd.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. I agree. Within this framework, we're asked to just report interims, so we're not reporting on the current third grade cohort, but that is something that could be discussed.
Thank you for all the data. I don't really necessarily have a question. I was kind of in the same lines as Vice President Trujillo. I'm like, okay, projections versus current versus data versus all these numbers. But I'm really excited to hear about this program, especially because we're utilizing technology in a very good way for our students. And I think, all of our students are definitely well advanced in using our technology. So make sure we focus them on the right path on how to use the right technology for them, because we already know that they can be using technology in very wrong scenarios. So not just in school, but maybe this is a way of teaching them, like they can be learning while using the technology. But I will say that coming from my children having to use iReady, because I know we've used iReady for a long time, but I just don't think we had a path forward or an understanding of alignment of how we can match the student, the testing, and all the data. So that is definitely a really good plus because my son used it at Magnet forever, and it has a lot of good qualities that I don't think we were taking advantage of. So this is amazing and exciting to hear. I'm very excited about this. So thank you so much for all the information that you gave us today.
All right, with that, we will move on to our next item, C3, to approve our SOFG progress monitoring report of board goal number 2. With that, do we have a motion to approve our progress monitoring report that we just had?
Erica De La Rosa, I so move the motion.
Thank you. All second. With that, Ms. Valencia, will we please have a roll call vote to approve item C3?
Yes, roll call for Ms. Jessica Bueno,
Aye.
Ms. Erica De La Rosa,
Aye.
and Ms. Carmen Trujillo.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, our motion passes and we will move on to item C4, our board self guardrail, number 1. So to speak to board guardrail number 1, I'll read it out loud. It's in attaining the board student outcome goals, the board shall not direct or appear to direct staff on day-to-day operations. And this is in place because in addition to the clarifying of student and superintendent performance, the guardrails are part of this framework for the board as well as our superintendent because we're a team in this framework and it's important to know each other's roles. And not so much boundaries, but we've got to have buffers in place to know when things aren't our role and things are only our superintendent's role. So that's what that guardrail is in place for. And my understanding and perspective is that we've been great about this board guardrail. And we do take it really serious as far as, or at least I'll speak for myself about watching when I am going to request something. I do ask myself, is this a board decision or is this something that, the proverbial driver of our Uber for our goals is supposed to decide on? So that's what this guardrail is in place for, and that's my understanding with it. So I hope that clarifies why we have this guardrail in place and what it's meant to do for board members. So anything to add to that, Dr. Gonzalez?
I think that was very well put.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item D1, our community communications. I do believe we have one in-person communication this evening and one electronic one. So we'll first welcome Ms. April Pettit to the floor, please, regarding our meet and confer process. Welcome, welcome.
My name is April Pettit. I'm a proud leader Wildcat and secretary.
Meet and confer. Those 3 words were almost as scary as rainy day schedule. I would dread meet and confer every year. The process was grueling. Beyond the meetings with district admin, the PECTA meet and confer team would meet at least once a week, but more likely 2 or 3 times a week, plus either a Saturday or a Sunday, sometimes both, depending on how much we had to research and prepare. This year, everything changed. We presented our asks based on a survey of both members and non-members. Within days of submitting our asks, Drs. Gonzalez and Bowman met with PECTA leadership to go over them. It was so straightforward. We met at the table last Thursday, and in 2 hours, we accomplished what had previously taken weeks, if not a month or more. This may sound silly, but for the first time, it felt like everyone in the room was on the same team. Several times I heard a member of the team say, "This will be great for teacher retention and recruitment." That is exactly what we all want, to make working conditions in PESD the envy of every other district in the state. One member said to me recently that the air seems lighter and more positive, and I could not agree more. All of this to say thank you to Dr. Gonzalez, Dr. Bowman, Mr. Manley, Mr. Anthony, and Ms. Sells. Thank you for changing something that I dreaded into something of which I am incredibly proud. Next, my name is April Pettit, and I am the proud district lead for general music and choir teachers. I sent an email to Dr. Galletti over winter break asking if it would be possible for music teachers to attend the Arizona Music Educators Annual Conference. I had a response from Dr. Galletti before the end of the first week back from break that it had already been approved through cabinet. To say I was stunned is an understatement. 13 out of 16 district music educators attended the annual conference both Friday and Saturday. We chose from 118 different hour-long workshops over 11 sessions. There were sessions such as utilizing social and peer mentoring to create meaningful learning experiences, building community in music, connecting U.S. Mexican values, addressing SEL and music education through group drumming, ASRS retirement planning for music educators, where I might have just happened to tell everyone in the room, Phoenix Elementary Classroom Teachers Association, working in conjunction with district leadership to get retirees 100% of their contract amount after the mandatory 365-day separation of work. Here is my email address. The feedback from the conference was 100% positive. Brand new teachers are excited to implement all these new ideas, and veteran teachers found new ways to reinvigorate their lessons. Thank you so much to Cabinet for seeing the value in us as educators, but also the value in being able to continue our learning and growth. And a very special thank you to Faith. She went above and beyond to make sure that all the registrations, lunches, and everything was perfect. I believe Faith has spoken more to the president of Arizona Music Educators Association in the last month more than I have in the last decade. Thank you for making my job better.
Thank you for being here. Mrs. Valencia, may we please have our next community communication?
Yes, our following one is an electronic communication from Ms. Marnie Burris. And it says the following. Good evening, Dr. Gonzalez, President Bueno, members of the governing board and cabinet. My name is Marnie Burris, and I am a master teacher at Whittier and PECTA president. On behalf of PECTA, I wish to extend our sincerest gratitude for the opportunity to engage in the Meet and Confer process with the district Meet and Confer team. The Meet and Confer process provides a vital platform for open dialogue where the concerns and perspectives of educators are valued and respected. By coming together in these meetings, we can address challenges, find common ground, and ultimately make decisions that benefit everyone involved in our educational system. It is through this cooperative effort that we can foster a culture of trust, transparency, and mutual respect. Tonight, I write to express our profound appreciation for the exemplary commitment demonstrated by the district administrative team in engaging with sincerity and purpose during the Meet and Confer process. It is with great satisfaction that we recognize the genuine efforts made by the district administrative side of the Meet and Confer team. Their willingness to actively participate in discussions, consider diverse viewpoints, and collaborate towards solutions has been truly commendable. This level of engagement has been instrumental in fostering an environment of trust, understanding, and cooperation. In recognizing the complexities of educational governance, we value the district administrative team's dedication to approaching the Meet and Confer process with authenticity and genuine desire to address the needs and concerns of all stakeholders. Their willingness to listen attentively, engage in constructive dialogue, and work towards mutually beneficial outcomes is a testament to their commitment to our educational community. We believe that through this collaboration effort, we are not only strengthening our educational system, but also building a foundation for lasting positive change. The district administrative team's real and meaningful engagement in the Meet and Confer process is pivotal and shaping the future of our schools and ensuring the well-being and success of our students and educators. Once again, we extend our deepest gratitude to the district administrative team for their invaluable contributions and look forward to continued collaboration towards our shared goals. With sincere appreciation, Marnie Burrows.
Thank you very, very much. With that, we will move on to item E. Let's see, our consent agenda. With this, we have a whole list of items that the board has already had time to review and go forth. So with that, do we have any recommendations for our consent agenda this evening, Dr. Gonzalez?
Madam Vice President, I recommend we accept the consent agenda as it stands.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve our consent agenda as presented?
Erica De La Rosa, I so move the motion.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll second. And with that, may we please have a roll call vote? Mrs. Valencia.
Yes, roll call for Ms. Jessica Bueno.
Hi.
Ms. Erica De La Rosa.
Aye.
And Ms. Carmen Trujillo.
Aye.
Thank you.
With that, our motion passes and our consent agenda is approved. Let's move on to item F1, our employee work agreement, contracts and compensation.
Madam Vice President, at this time, I would like to welcome Dr. Bowman to the podium to speak about our process and talk about where we are moving forward with our salaries and contracts.
We good to go? Governing Board President Bueno, Vice President Trujillo, Board Member De La Rosa. It's my pleasure tonight to share with you an update on the implementation of our stepless salary schedule and compensation that we made in this past year. And where we are, and where we're going. The salary administration program had several objectives. Here's some of the key ones: to modernize the alignment of all of our positions in the district, to assess our competitiveness among K-8 school districts in the Valley specifically, to update and to adopt a stepless salary schedule, and to develop implementation strategies to address internal inequities that existed over time. So the plan that was developed, first, what happened this past year, I wasn't here, but was we aligned all of our jobs. We did use a consultant, JB Rewards, who used a proprietary process to measure our job content and create a comprehensive list of all of our jobs, and then created appropriate spacing throughout the skill levels where it was possible. So a great example of that is, in December, you approved a few new positions. We have the purchasing specialist, the buyer, and the senior buyer. So where we have the ability to do these career ladders, we want to have just the right amount of spacing between each one of those. Most of the time it's 2 levels and sometimes it's 3 levels, depending upon what the qualifications are at the terminal end of that career ladder. We also then identified in the past year the internal equities that existed, knowing that when the budget was appropriated last year, we couldn't do everything at once, and it was going to be a 3-year process. So the district did as much as they could and planned for addressing inequities over the course of the next several years. The research of the competitive trends, we looked at, I've listed the 14 schools up there, but there were a few more also. And what the approach was that Phoenix Elementary School District number 1 ought to be competitive with our neighbors, and specifically what they were striving for was to put us at the 60th percentile of all of our neighboring districts. So that was a target that was used throughout this process so that we could be competitive when we go out and try to seek and attract talent to our district. So then a master salary schedule was designed. And again, I got ahead of myself, but it's a proprietary model. It's blended the internal ranks with the external trends. And then the range specifics for each of the jobs were developed. And that range specifics included a minimum, a maximum, and a midpoint. And again, the midpoint was the 60th percentile of the market for each of those positions. Then the positions in our district were all assigned to a new grade on the salary schedule that was approved earlier. It's very clean. It's one salary schedule. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. And then the next part of it was to address pay inequities, and equity adjustments have been made. So what you heard earlier tonight from Dr. Gonzalez is that we've implemented year 2 of equity adjustments in the middle of this year. And we're moving forward on doing the best that we can for employees, both for retention and for attracting talent to the district. Some of the highlights from where we were and to where we are is we took what was once 13 different salary schedules in 21-22, and we reduced that to 1. And I know Mr. Manley, representing payroll in the business service department, they are incredibly grateful to not have all of these different salary schedules because of the cumbersomeness of having so many schedules. So that's a huge accomplishment for our district. The other thing that was significant in our district this past year was the amount of increases that we were able to make to the base salaries. And those ranges for me being from not here last year, they're astounding to me. 2.6%, no less than that for all. And then up to 20.6% for support staff, and some 16 and some 13. Those double-digit increases are really remarkable. And it's just great to see that for our district and to walk into that. The other thing that was shown in the consultant JB Rewards, that a lot of employees in districts end up making decisions in that 3rd year to the 7th year to bow out of the profession. And so what his proprietary model does is it takes those first years in the employment of a school district and it accelerates their compensation faster than what might have happened in a regular step schedule. So it's pretty impressive how what'll happen is, if you can think about the highest wage earners and the lowest wage earners, and just keep it as simple as possible. If everybody got $1,000, a percent of the highest is a smaller percent, and a percent of the lowest at $1,000 is a greater percent. So it's taking that kind of a concept where we're equalizing it to a point, but we're accelerating those who are newly hired at a more rapid rate than we were before. And that also has been tremendous for our system. And then the next one is, I'm really happy to share with you the improvement on job offer acceptance. We're clearly way more competitive than on our initial placements. What I thought I was going to share originally was just some anecdotal. We have more acceptance, but I actually have some data to share with you. And I got so far ahead of myself. In 22-23, we had an acceptance rate of about 74%, meaning that nearly a quarter of the people that we offered jobs to didn't accept. And when you think about all the time and effort that a lot of these folks here put into finding the highest quality person, the best absolute talent we can, and then at the end of it, they get there and say, yeah, no thanks. Sometimes they accept jobs in other districts, and sometimes they say our compensation isn't where it needs to be. So I'm happy to report in this current school year, our acceptance rate is now at 87%. So I think that's a testament to having a very aggressive and robust competitive salary schedule and ranges that we have. And we also, in that, looking at the reason, so we track the reason why they don't accept. We've reduced the compensation as a reason by 1/2. So happy to share that data. Very happy. Then the other thing that we get all the time in human resources, well, I'm new to the district. How do I know how much I'm going to make and where you're going to place me? So for the grade and the job that someone's applied for, you can see the ranges and you can see the midpoint of the ranges. And what we do is we have a placement criteria up here that 84% of the range represents 84% of the midpoint, which is the 60th percentile. I'm not trying to confuse you with math, but 60th percentile is our target. That's the midpoint. 84% of that is zero experience. And we honor up to 10 years of experience in our system at 96% of the midpoint. One of the things that we noticed early on when I first started was this was a little bit different. We were giving 100% of the midpoint when we first started, and it was creating an internal inequity that was unintentional, where we ended up placing some people over employees who had similar experience in our district. So we modified this back down. We stepped it down some, and we seem to be in a better spot. It's in a better sweet spot. So the other thing is I know this isn't the one, Dr. Gonzalez. You have a great explanation I was going to tap you into, but this isn't it. So I'll keep going. So what are our next steps? So that's kind of where we've been. Those are some highlights of where we are, and here's where we're going. We know that we still have inequities that exist, and so we need to bring some people together to have some thought partners and have a representative task force of making sure that we have ESPA and PECTA at the table with HR, so that we can take a look at these, and with business services, so we can look at these inequities and be aggressive to address them, so that what we can say hopefully in 2 to 3 years is we have no more inequities. And what they're just some pay disparities between in a few cases. So we got to keep working towards that. We need to continue to refine and revise job descriptions. You've seen us bring some of those forward this year. That's just a start. We have many more to go. And that's a process that we look forward to engaging with. And then the next one is to continue those career pathways. That's one of the real value adds of this salary schedule that we have as the one I just shared with you earlier. We also have Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3 positions. Those career pathways are really important so that we bring an employee in at what would be quoted as an entry level, and then they can move through the system and advance themselves in a similar job, or otherwise we'd like to promote people to other positions that they might have an interest in. Maybe they came in as an IA and they wanted to go back and get their teaching certificate, so they come into the teaching side of it as well. So we really want to encourage that and promote that. And then most importantly is, our next steps are to make sure that we're hiring and retaining high quality staff. This is all about who we hire. This is about attracting. We want to attract talent. We want to hire talent. We want to keep talent. And when I get on my soapbox, nothing is more important than who we hire. I know it's all about the kids. It's always all about the kids and the students, but nothing is more important than who we put in the room with them. And so everybody in here has a big part of our district, and every employee that we have touches the life of a kid, whether it's direct or indirect. And that's what makes this really great work. And then also to add to that, we have the Reimagine Future Phoenix, and we have a subcommittee that I have the pleasure of working with Dr. Gonzalez on, that also is going to be having a really intense focus on hiring and retaining quality staff. So I got off a little bit, but I had to have my opportunity. I got the mic. And then tonight we're really grateful that we're going to be able to do contract issuance. That's really important that we get out as early as possible. The neighboring districts, we all communicate with each other around this, which is nice. There are 15 other districts that are also getting out early. And early is that January 31st to February 15th window. So while it seems early, more and more districts are jumping into that window. And if we weren't as aggressive in offering contracts this early, then we likely would lose candidates to neighboring districts, more candidates. So I'm really grateful for the governing board for being supportive of that. We plan to administer publish our certified staffing and licensed professional staffing contracts the week of the 12th. It's either going to be more specific. It's either going to be the 13th or the 15th. So we're nailing down the date. The 14th this year is the wellness fair. So we're staying off that. Then we're going to do our support staff and our administrators the week of March 25th. And new this year, you approved it in the consent, thank you, is we're going to offer a $100 contract/work agreement acceptance incentive for staff who, when their contract is published today, they'll have till the close of business tomorrow, provided it's not a weekend. It won't be, it'll be on a weekday that they can do that, and they'll receive $100 by accepting the contract within that time frame. We think that that's going to help us. The sooner we get information from staff, the better. And we think that's going to help us get more accurate numbers earlier. We're trying. We're grateful. You don't know for sure. It's going to help us recruit new employees, because the sooner we know our staffing plans at our schools, the sooner we can post positions and actively recruit. And most importantly is all of this drives student achievement. It's all related. It's all correlated. It all comes together. So I think that, yeah. Oh, wait. Thank you. Did I get it right?
You sure did.
Thank you, Dr. Bowman. Does anyone have any questions? I do not.
I do not.
Right. Again, thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for all the information.
My pleasure.
Okay, with that, do we have a, oh. Got it. We'll move on to item G1, which is requesting the approval of issuing contracts and work agreements for the 2024-2025 school year. Do we have a motion to approve this item?
Erica De La Rosa, I so move the motion.
Thank you. I'll second. Mrs. Valencia, may we please have, or any other discussion? Hearing none, may we please have a roll call vote to approve this item?
Yes, roll call for Ms. Jessica Bueno,
Aye.
Ms. Erica De La Rosa,
Aye.
Ms. Carmen Trujillo.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. With that, our motion passes. And we move on to item H1, and we are going to move to executive session to receive legal advice from our attorney regarding the board's options for engaging in a superintendent search and to discuss our meet and confer process. We don't anticipate being longer than an hour or so, so we are going to recess and then we will be back shortly. Thank you all very much. May I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
Erica De La Rosa, I so move the motion.
Thank you. I'll second. Mrs. Valencia, may I please have a roll call vote to vote on this item?
Roll call for Ms. Jessica Bueno.
See, we missed her because I recessed really quick.
Right.
She's already in our executive session probably.
We're calling her now.
President Bueno, I have you on speaker. We went back into session because we need a motion to go into executive session. Ms. Erica De La Rosa has motion and Ms. Trujillo has second, and we are doing the vote call. The vote call for Ms. Jessica Bueno. Thank you. Ms. Erica De La Rosa. Aye. And Ms. Carmen Trujillo.
Aye. With that, our
you.
motion passes and we will see you guys shortly. Thank you very much.
No love for us.
Thank you very much. With this, we will resume to our regular session at 7:19 PM and move on to items I1, our closing items. Do we have any board member requests?
No.
No.
No, none for me as well. We'll move on to item I2. Do we have any future agenda items to request?
None for me.
None for me as well. Hearing no other ones, let's move on to item J1. Do we have a motion to adjourn this evening?
1 second. As I put a cookie in my mouth, Erica De La Rosa, I so for the motion.
Thank you all. Second. May we please have a roll call vote to approve adjourning this evening, Mrs. Valencia?
Vote call for Ms. Jessica Bueno,
Aye.
Ms. Erica De La Rosa,
Aye.
and Ms. Carmen Trujillo.
Aye. With that, our motion passes and we will adjourn at 7:20 PM. Thank you all for whoever is still here with us. We will have our next meeting on February the 20th at 5:15 PM here at the district office. Thank you and have a good night.